Hey guys, what's going on? So today we are doing a guide slash discussion for general progression. I'm going to try and keep this pretty simple so it can apply to as many people as possible. But basically, let's break progression down in a simple way. So, when you can't progress anymore, why is that? It's because your heroes are dying and you can't get past the stage. That's literally the only reason. After you can progress through all the pieces of content you want to progress through, the next step is actually getting faster at doing it. But that's not really what we're talking about today. So let's start with that as a base. You can't progress because your heroes are dying. So there are two main things that make a hero what it is: their skill set and their element. Both are important, of course, skill set being more important than element, but they have a pretty big advantage or disadvantage based on what they're fighting. Let's take Destina for example. She is a healer with a healing skill set. Second skill, big heal. Third skill, big heal. First skill can also be a big AoE heal when it has its soul burn effect. And she's an earth type, obviously making her best suited to water places or everywhere except fire. Even though you can obviously use her there as well, she just may be a little bit more squishy. So as far as skill set and element, you can't do anything about that really. They're stuck with their skill set. You can enhance it and make them more powerful with skill enhance, and even awakening changes one of the skills to be slightly stronger. But ultimately, you can't change that. So if you have a hero and you're gonna stick with it, you need to focus on the three things that make a hero strong. The first one of these is going to be gear. This is where you're going to be getting your main portion of stats and your actual main power. So the orange numbers here are the bonus stats I'm getting for gear. You see we're getting more health from gear than the hero. And when we're talking about Destina specifically, not only does she need more health for her skills, but it's obviously very good for survivability. So how do you get gear? Where do you find gear? You'll find a lot of gear on your adventures, and this is typically okay in the beginning, but after a while you will want some better gear, and hunt is where that comes into play. This is a pretty infinitely farmable area, each hunt battle providing different sets. The Wyvern can give crit, hit, and speed sets. Golem can give attack, health, and defense sets. And the Banshee can give resist, destruction, lifesteal, and counter sets. In my opinion, Golem Hunt is the best, as two of these sets are going to be quite commonly used. That's the attack and health set. Both are pretty viable sets. You know, health set, Destina wants 3 health sets. Most of your DPS will want an attack set. You know, some DPS are different. Some want speed or effectiveness. It really depends. Wyvern is also very good with crit, hit, and speed. At least critical and speed are also quite good and common sets. Hit is a little bit more niche, but some heroes do want it. When you clear a stage for the first time, you will be awarded with a reputation achievement, which will give you a lot of these beginning crafting materials. And also just by playing the stage, you'll also get those materials. You could then use those materials in the sanctuary at the steel workshop to create your selected piece of gear. So if your Destina, for example, really needs a better chest piece, you could go here, craft a chest piece. Unfortunately, the set will be random as well as the rarity. So it will be T5, but it could be, you know, just blue or purple when you really want a red one. You can also get some nice gear out of the labyrinth. However, that will come pretty passively as you're just going through the labyrinth. So just play the labyrinth as long as you have an entry ticket, and there's some pretty good equipment in there as well. Quite a bit easier than hunt, if I do say so myself. So of course, once you do have the gear, leveling it up gives more stats. In Destina's case, a weapon isn't that important since it always will give attack. Of course, you can also get health percent substats, which is nice. The helmet will be more important, even though it's flat, it's still almost 600 for this particular piece. And again, you can get the other substats. Of course, in someone like Cez's case, where he's meant to be dealing damage, you want, of course, to try and get him offensive substats like attack, crit chance, etc., etc. So yes, gear is one of the main ways you're going to be getting a lot of your stats. The second thing, which I kind of feel like I should have mentioned first because it seems more simple to explain, is level. You'll be getting quite a lot of stats just from leveling up as well, which I guess also falls into promotions. The more you promote them, the more you can level them up to the next max level. But I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about promotion and all that because I did make a Phantasma guide, which you can check out. I go over promotion and all that in that video. One thing I didn't mention, however, is if you're running low on Phantasmas, you can also use the 2-star monsters you find in adventure, and you can treat them as Phantasma as well. But this method is really for those that play a lot and will always have some trash thing with them to level up, so can get through harder content with only 3 heroes. Because more or less, 2-star heroes are the same exact thing as 2-star Phantasmas, it's just that they don't start at max level. And if you ever run out of 2-star heroes, Friendship Summon is the way to go. You'll get an average of 4 2-star heroes per Friendship Tin Pull. Yeah, and so as far as actually leveling the heroes, personally, I never found this bit very hard. Of course, if you want them a lot faster, you can enhance them with, all these penguins. They are pretty powerful for that. I kind of am just saving all the ones I come across right now because just running stages as a level 45, she can survive just fine. She's not at her full potential yet, but it's okay. I would advise against using the 2-star monsters you have. As you can see, they give practically next to nothing. Of course, I guess if you run out of hero inventory space and you don't have any wolves to upgrade and you're still focusing on raising your main team and can't dedicate a spot to one of those 2-star monsters, then go ahead and do that. All right, and the last thing that makes a hero strong is Awakening. This is actually not too hard until you get to the 5th one, because of the 5th one, you need these pretty rare catalysts. Of course, you can just go into Adventure, Region Info, select the Monster tab, and see where all those catalysts are. There are none of those green alarm clock things here, but maybe in like Chapter 5 or something. Just go there and check the chapters. However, they are still rare, even when you know where to farm, and you need quite a lot of them. Regardless, Awakening does give them some nice stat bonuses here, health +3, plus an additional flat 20 and 60 stats there, more stats. And then of course, when we get to the 3rd Awakening, which also isn't too difficult, we get a special effect on one of our skills. There is of course also skill enhance, where you can enhance it by using the special Molagoras. However, considering how rare all that stuff is, I don't think most of it in here until you get to like +3, +4, +5 is really worth thinking about super early on. Like the 1-turn cooldown is really nice, but for that you need a Molagora Go and 5 more catalysts, which I guess beginners won't really have access to. That's definitely not to say you should ignore skill enhancing, but I wouldn't worry about it too much, at least at the very beginning. So what we've been mostly talking about up until this point is individual heroes and what makes them strong, what makes them a hero in the first place, the skill set, their typing. But we also didn't talk about team composition and what makes a team strong. In this game, from my experience, having a healer is absolutely necessary. You may not need a super dedicated healer like Destina for a lot of content, but it definitely does help. Thankfully, there are other good healers besides Destina, some 4-stars. There's also Elson. However, I kind of have a hard time considering him a healer at all, considering it's just this skill, which can actually heal, and then it's by a pretty small amount. So I'd say a healer is probably the most important thing to a team. Everyone else, including healers, can deal damage and can eventually kill the enemy. However, it's probably not fun to have to spend 30 minutes per adventure run to kill an enemy with a full healer team. So that's where DPS come into play. Like my boy says, he really doesn't do much else besides damage. He can inflict a pretty niche debuff Unhealable, which does actually come in handy in a lot of different places, including PvP. And then we got other heroes like Silk, which is sort of hybrid DPS / support. So I don't think she'll be doing quite as much damage as like pretty much a full-fledged DPS like Says, but you can do other things like decreasing the target's speed, increasing everyone else's speed, and also decreasing the enemy's combat readiness. Then there are also specialized units like Kiris, which have a pretty special role. Her special role is more boss killer with her poison stacks. High health enemies, high defense enemies, because poison ticks away at 5% per health per poison stack, and she can do up to 3 using her first skill after it's been buffed with her 3rd skill, and then even extend the duration by using her 2nd skill. So she can poison away those bosses really quick. So a lot of the characters are pretty unique, so team compositions are pretty much endless. That's why I'm kind of saving this for the end, because it's really hard, but I think as long as you have a general decent healer, good DPS, and a couple of supports thrown in, you'll be fine as long as everything else is up to snuff, depending on which content you're trying to do. If their gear is good enough, if their levels are high enough, etc., etc. So I know I'm not being like super specific with this guide because everyone's situation will be different. It's just important to know how big of a difference gear can make, because I think that's going to be the biggest thing for a character's strength, as well as level and promoting. Also, I have no idea where you, the person watching this, where you're at in terms of content progression. If you're still trying to clear, normal adventure mode, if you're already a little bit past that, if you're like not even halfway. And of course, I could give different advice for different areas of progression, but to try and apply to as many people as possible, I kind of have to be a bit vague. Also, if you have anyone with defense break raise them immediately because defense break is broken as hell. I took a supporter friend, I think it was also like a grass archer, one of the natural 5 stars, I forgot her name, but she applied defense break to the boss, and my god. I think even some of the 3 stars have a pretty high chance, like Muchacha here, if that's how he's said, has a 75% chance, but like that is his ultimate, which has a 6-turn cooldown, so if that doesn't work, he's kind of a waste. Okay, sorry for that little tangent there. Just know that that defense break is awesome, and you can do a ton more damage if you have someone that can defense break. I'm actually considering doing a dedicated video, like comparing an attack buff to no attack buff, comparing defense break to no defense break, maybe comparing defense up to no defense up, something like that. Tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. Or anything else regarding this video. If you have any other progression tips for beginners, maybe you can get a little bit more specific than me because it's a comment section at that point and it's okay. Or any other thoughts or feelings, you can drop them down there as well. But that'll do it for today. Leaving a like if you happen to enjoy is always greatly appreciated as well. Thanks, as always, for watching, and until next time.